Hi, this is Frank Lawlor from Euroleague TV. I'm here with Joe Arlauckas and George Zidek, our Euroleague TV color commentators. And of course, it's the morning of the Turkish Airlines Euroleague Championship game, and we will have a champion tonight between Fenerbahce Istanbul and CSKA Moscow. The two teams that had the best records in the Euroleague all season long are in the final, deservedly so, and we will fight to see tonight which one will become the new Euroleague champion. Of course, we have an incredible side story to this championship game, and that is that the two coaches, Željko Obradović of Fenerbahce Istanbul and Dimitris Itoudis of CSKA Moscow, have been longtime friends since they first started their own coaching collaboration in 1999 and spent 13 years together, winning 5 EuroLeague titles with Panathinaikos. Coach Itoudis had Coach Obradović as his best man at his wedding during that time and the godfather of one of his children. So it's an amazing coincidence that the two people who are such close friends will be going against each other for tonight's EuroLeague title. But let's talk about the players who are going to win it on the floor, of course, for one of those coaches. And we have a great backcourt, Joe Arlauckas and CSKA Moscow, and proven again in the semifinal when Nando De Colo broke basically the Final Four record for do-or-die games with 30 points.
Yeah, first of all, going back to what you said, it's so great to see. Even though there's some there are new faces this year in the Final Four, it's nice to see the championship game being the top two teams throughout the league. It's always nice to see when those two teams meet up in the finals. But talking about the backcourt, it's just Nando De Colo the other day was just amazing. I mean, we talked a little bit on the telecast. He kind of looks so slow out there at times, but he's so effective and he does so much. And Teodosic is a guy that gets everybody else involved. But they have another backcourt that they have to deal with, and that's on the other side, and that's Bobby Dixon and Bogdan Bogdanovic, two guys that really came out to play the other day. Hickman did a great job also coming off the bench. So it's going to be an interesting concept, but I think also, finally we're going to get the chance, and George is going to get the chance, thank God, to talk about the front court too, which is always good in basketball.
Well, as you say, George, the front court, if people are talking here in Berlin about how the CSKA backcourt but the Fenerbahce front court might be an advantage for them, just in numbers, but also they have two all EuroLeague stars in John Vesely and Epe Udo.
Well, but I got to mention that Kyle Hines has been having just a phenomenal season. And we spoke with Joe about it. I mean, his low center of gravity and the way that the toughness, both physically and mentally, it just makes him a special player. So I think that there could be a slight advantage for Fenerbahce under the basket, but still they're going to have their hands full. Kyle Hines is a tough man, and he's going to play a tough game. I think that you saw that mentally he's approaching every single game and every single situation on the court with the extreme toughness. So I like the situation for CSKA under the basket too. He's going to have to go against Epe Udo. That matchup individually, those two huge bodies just going against each other, that's going to be a great thing to watch for me personally as a former center. I have to go back also to the guards. Let's not forget Kostas Lukas. I mean, he could be a big-time X factor. He was like that in the semifinal game. He is so tough mentally coming into the game. He's asking and demanding the ball on tough situations. So let's look for him as also a very deciding factor in the game.
Of course, Kyle Hines doesn't have to do it alone. He has some help in guys like Victor Kriapa the other night, Andrei Vorontsevich. But those are smaller, they're power forwards more than centers. And we didn't see another center, I don't think, get off the bench for CSKA. They played a little smaller lineup. But then again, Fenerbahce had to go to a small lineup just to change something up, and it got them to overtime the other night. So as Željko Obradović has said in the press conferences yesterday, the decisions will be made during the game when nobody's sure what they're going to do all game right now.
Yeah, and that's what Željko's a master at. We all know that one of the I had the time of 3 years with Željko, and like I always say, I didn't like him very much when he was my coach, but I love him now. I love seeing the way he reacts in games, and I do respect as an ex-player that he has the ability, and him and I talk about this all the time, he has the ability to see what's going on in the game and make the quick changes. But as a coach, you cannot make those changes if you don't have your players prepared for those changes. And he is a master at that. He's a master at having those players sitting down in the timeout. He has a capability of yelling at them for that 30 seconds of the timeout and taking the other 30 seconds to calm them down and to show them a play or make a change like he did the other day. I think that change to go into a smaller lineup was huge because they weren't effective at all inside or outside at that point. And he went to a smaller lineup. And what I liked mostly about Fenerbahce was their physicality in that game. And CSKA's going to have to come with some sort of physicality in this game. They have to bring something a little bit more than they brought on Friday night for this championship game. But it's going to be an interesting matchup between these two teams.
George Zidek, if CSKA Moscow showed something special the other night, it was their mental toughness. They couldn't get past the semifinal for 3 years in a row before this, and they had an opponent the other night who was knocking at their back the entire time, but they never let them through the door, and they really were never threatened. And do you think that their mental toughness will carry over into the final?
You almost have to expect that it will be the case, because on Friday they won the first quarter by 11, 12 points, and then they just held off Kuban, which won the next 3 quarters. That's an interesting statistic. So I think that CSKA showed mental toughness. They played exactly as they needed to play to hold off Lokomotiv and get into the championship game.
We didn't mention a couple guys like Luigi Datome and Nikola Kalinic, who had a great defensive game against Labrador Kucha the other night, as well as Corey Higgins and Nikita Korbanov, who will be matched up with them on the side for CSKA.
Yeah, and all those. I mean, Datome is one of my favorite players by far. I love watching him play the game. He's so smooth. He was instrumental when Zelko decided to go to the small lineup. But also we have to talk about Fritz. He made some key plays for CSKA Moscow. It was just watching him defend, watching him go to the basket offensively, getting on the floor. As we talk about getting your knees bloody, and getting out on the floor and creating more possessions for his team. I thought he was key. So, we've talked about this more and more. You have the superstars, you have the guys that everybody talks about, but then you have the role players that really win games like this. So I think it's people like that we're going to be watching out for tonight to maybe pull off the surprise.
Of course, these teams are so deep and so many good players that anybody could be the difference maker. It's tonight in Berlin, Germany, at the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Fenerbahce Istanbul versus CSKA Moscow. The big brother coach against the little brother coach. Željko Obradović against his former partner, Dimitris Itoudis. And one of them will lift the trophy, not together for the first time in their long career, but from the other. And it'll be the Turkish Airlines Euroleague Championship game starting at 8 o'clock local time in Berlin. Don't miss it, because it should be fantastic.